David sat in the corner of the hospital cafeteria, staring at his coffee cup like it held all the answers to his problems. It didn't, of course. Nothing did. His phone buzzed for the 100th time that day, and he couldn't bring himself to look at it anymore. The messages were all the same. Friends asking about the party, his daughter's teacher confirming the celebration, everyone excited about the big day coming up in just 3 days. 3 days. That's all he had left to figure out how to tell his 7-year-old daughter that her mother wasn't coming back. The fluorescent lights above him flickered, and David rubbed his tired eyes. He hadn't slept properly in 2 weeks, not since that morning when he woke up to find Jessica's side of the bed empty and cold. At first he thought she'd just gone for an early run. She did that sometimes when she was stressed. But then he saw the note on the kitchen counter, just 5 words. "I'm sorry. I need space." No explanation. No phone call. No way to reach her because she'd blocked his number. Her social media accounts were deactivated. Her parents claimed they didn't know where she was, though David wasn't sure he believed them. Jessica had just vanished like smoke in the wind, leaving behind a confused husband and a little girl who kept asking when Mommy would be back from her business trip. Business trip. That's what David had told Lily. It seemed kinder than the truth. How do you explain to a child that her mother just walked away? That sometimes people you love decide they don't want to be part of your life anymore, and there's nothing you can do about it? Lily had been planning her birthday party since January. It was now late March and every detail had been discussed 1,000 times. She wanted a princess theme, but not the typical pink and purple everything. Lily was interested in space, so she designed her own concept. Space princesses, crowns made of stars, a cake shaped like a planet. She'd drawn pictures and made lists and talked about it every single day, and she'd been so excited that both her parents would be there together. David and Jessica had been separated for almost a year, trying to work through their issues in counseling. The party was supposed to be a symbol of their progress, a sign that they could still be a family for Lily's sake, even if they weren't together as a couple anymore. They'd promised Lily. Both of them would be there, smiling and celebrating, showing her that divorce didn't mean the end of love. Except now Jessica was gone, and David had no idea what to do. He'd already told everyone at Lily's school that both parents would attend. He'd confirmed with the parents of Lily's 20 invited friends. He'd posted about it in the neighborhood parent group. Everyone knew. Everyone expected to see Jessica there, probably asking how the reconciliation was going, making small talk about whether they'd gotten back together. The thought of facing all those people, all those questions made David's stomach turn. But worse than that was the thought of seeing Lily's face when she realized her mother wasn't there, when she understood that the one thing she'd wanted most for her birthday, the thing she'd wished for when she blew out last year's candles, wasn't going to happen. David took a sip of his now cold coffee and grimaced. He'd been sitting here for almost an hour, hiding from his own life. He worked as a nurse in this hospital, and technically he was on his lunch break, but he knew he needed to get back to his shift soon. Patients were waiting. Life didn't stop just because his personal world was falling apart. That's when he noticed the woman at the table near the window. She was maybe in her mid-30s, with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore glasses and a professional-looking blazer, and she was completely absorbed in the book she was reading. David wouldn't have paid attention to her at all, except for the title of the book, Understanding Childhood Trauma and Resilience. Something about seeing that book at that exact moment felt like a sign. David didn't usually believe in signs, but desperate people look for meaning anywhere they can find it. Before he could talk himself out of it, David stood up and walked over to her table. His heart was pounding and he could feel sweat on his palms. This was crazy. This was absolutely insane, but he was out of options and out of time. "Excuse me," he said, his voice coming out rougher than he intended. The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes were kind, he noticed. Brown and warm with little crinkles at the corners that suggested she smiled a lot. "Yes?" she asked politely, closing her book but keeping her finger between the pages to mark her spot. David opened his mouth and then closed it again. How do you even start this conversation? He must have looked as panicked as he felt, because the woman's expression shifted from polite curiosity to concern. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Do you need me to call someone?" "No, I just—" David pulled out the chair across from her without asking permission and sat down heavily. I know this is going to sound completely crazy. I know you don't know me, and you have absolutely no reason to help me, but I'm desperate and I don't know what else to do. The woman's eyebrows went up, but she didn't get up and leave, which David took as a good sign. I need someone to pretend to be my wife, he blurted out. The woman blinked, then blinked again. I'm sorry, what? Just for a week. Well, really just for one day, but you'd need to come a day early to meet my daughter, and then stay until the morning after. So technically a week, but really just... David was rambling now, the words tumbling out faster than he could organize them. My daughter's birthday party is in 3 days, and her mother was supposed to be there. But she left us 2 weeks ago, and my daughter doesn't know yet because I told her it was a business trip. And I know that was stupid, but I didn't know how to tell her the truth. And now everyone's expecting both of us to be at this party. And I don't want to ruin her birthday by telling her right before it happens that her mother abandoned her. Okay. Slow down, the woman said, holding up her hand. Her voice was calm and steady, which somehow made David feel a little less like he was spiraling out of control. Let's back up. Your wife left? My ex-wife. We were separated. We were trying to work things out for our daughter's sake, but... David's voice cracked and he hated himself for it. She just left. No warning. No explanation. Just gone. And your daughter doesn't know? Lily thinks she's on a business trip. She's 7. How do I tell a 7-year-old that her mother decided being a mom was too hard, and she'd rather just disappear? The woman was quiet for a moment, studying David's face. He probably looked as wrecked as he felt. He hadn't shaved in days, there were dark circles under his eyes, and his nurse's scrubs were wrinkled because he'd been wearing them for a 12-hour shift. What's your name? The woman asked finally. David Chen. I'm Dr. Rachel Foster, she said. And that book you saw? I'm a child psychologist. I work in the pediatric wing upstairs. David felt something loosen in his chest. A child psychologist, of course. Maybe this really was a sign. Then you understand, he said urgently. You understand how much this could hurt her. Lily's been planning this party for months. It's all she talks about. And the one thing she wanted most was for both her parents to be there. If I tell her now, right before her birthday, it'll ruin everything. She'll always associate her 7th birthday with the day she learned her mother didn't want her anymore. That's not necessarily true, Rachel said gently. Children are more resilient than we give them credit for. But why should she have to be resilient? David's voice rose slightly and he forced himself to lower it. Why should she have to deal with this trauma at all? If I can just give her one more perfect day, one more memory of feeling loved and safe and happy, then maybe it won't hurt as much when I finally tell her the truth. Rachel leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. So you want me to come to this party and pretend to be your wife? Your ex-wife, your daughter's mother. I know how it sounds, David said quickly. I know it's dishonest and probably a terrible idea, but I don't know what else to do. Everyone's already expecting her to be there. I'd have to call 20 sets of parents and explain what happened. I'd have to tell the school. I'd have to face all their pity and their questions and their judgment. And Lily would have to face it too. All those people knowing that her mother left her. All those conversations stopping when she walks by. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. I'll pay you. I have some savings. $2,000. I know that's not much for what I'm asking, but it's all I can afford right now. Rachel didn't even look at the money. You can't just lie to your daughter. That's not protecting her. That's protecting yourself. The words hit David like a punch to the gut because they were true. Part of this was about his own shame, his own inability to face what had happened, but that didn't change the fact that Lily would be devastated. Maybe you're right, David admitted. Maybe I am being selfish. But she's 7 years old and her birthday is in 3 days and I'm trying my best here. I'm a single dad who works full-time, and I'm barely holding it together. I just want to give my daughter one happy day before her whole world falls apart. Is that really so wrong? Rachel was quiet for a long moment, her fingers drumming lightly on the cover of her book. David could see her thinking, weighing, considering. He held his breath, waiting. This is a terrible idea, Rachel said finally. David's heart sank. I know. It's dishonest, it's complicated, and it could backfire spectacularly. I know. And lying to children, even with good intentions, can damage their ability to trust. I know. David started to stand up, embarrassed and defeated. I'm sorry I bothered you. This was stupid. I shouldn't have, but Rachel interrupted and David froze. I understand why you're desperate. And I do know something about childhood trauma and how timing can affect the way children process difficult information. David sat back down slowly. So, you'll think about it? I'll meet you, Rachel said carefully. Tomorrow. Coffee shop across the street at 6 p.m. We'll talk more about this and I'll decide then. But I'm not promising anything. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. David felt hope flicker in his chest for the first time in 2 weeks. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you for even considering it. Rachel gave him a small smile. Don't thank me yet. I might still say no. But as David walked away, heading back to finish his shift, he felt lighter than he had in days. Maybe, just maybe, he could pull this off. Maybe he could give Lily one perfect day before everything changed forever. He didn't know yet that this desperate plan would change all three of their lives in ways none of them could have imagined. He didn't know that the stranger he'd just met would become one of the most important people in his world. He didn't know that sometimes the craziest ideas turn out to be the ones that save us. All he knew was that he had 3 days to figure out how to protect his daughter's heart. And for the first time since Jessica left, he didn't feel completely alone in that impossible task. Tomorrow he'd meet Rachel again. Tomorrow they'd make a plan. Tomorrow he'd start trying to build a perfect day out of broken pieces. But tonight, he still had to go home and tuck Lily into bed, and listen to her excited chatter about her birthday party, and pretend that everything was fine. Tonight he still had to lie to the person he loved most in the world. And somewhere out there, Jessica was living her life without them, and David didn't know if he'd ever understand why. The coffee shop across from the hospital was one of those local places that tried too hard to be trendy. Exposed brick walls, mismatched vintage furniture, and a chalkboard menu with prices that made David wince. He arrived 15 minutes early, ordered a black coffee he couldn't really afford, and picked a table in the back corner where they could talk privately. His hands were shaking as he wrapped them around the paper cup. All day at work, he'd been second-guessing himself. What was he thinking? Asking a complete stranger to lie to his daughter. Rachel was probably going to tell him this was a horrible idea and walk away. Maybe she'd even report him to someone. Could you get reported for asking someone to pretend to be your wife? David had no idea, but at this point he was too desperate to care. The door chimed and Rachel walked in. She'd changed out of her professional blazer and was wearing jeans and a simple sweater. She looked more relaxed than she had in the hospital, but there was still a serious expression on her face as she spotted him and walked over. Hi, David said, starting to stand up. Don't get up, Rachel said, sliding into the chair across from him. I'll grab a coffee in a minute. First, I want to talk. David sat back down, his heart hammering. Okay. Rachel folded her hands on the table and looked at him directly. I spent all night thinking about what you asked me. I even called my mentor, a child psychologist I worked with in graduate school, and ran a hypothetical situation past her. I didn't use names or details, just the basic scenario. What did she say? David asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She said it was a bad idea, that lying to children, even to protect them, usually causes more harm than good in the long run, that the truth, delivered with love and support, is almost always better than a comfortable lie. David felt his stomach drop. So you're saying no? I'm saying she's probably right, Rachel said. But I'm also saying that textbook psychology doesn't always account for real life. For the mess and the chaos and the impossible situations people find themselves in. David looked up, hope flickering again. So? Rachel was quiet for a moment, seeming to wrestle with something internal. Tell me more about your daughter. What's she like, Lily? David's face softened just saying her name. She's incredible. Smart as anything. She's obsessed with space and planets. Last month, she convinced me to stay up until midnight so we could watch a meteor shower, and she made up stories about where each shooting star was going. She wants to be an astronaut when she grows up, or a veterinarian, or both. She hasn't decided yet. Rachel smiled slightly. She sounds special. She is, David said. She's the best thing I've ever done with my life. And I know I'm messing this up. I know I should just tell her the truth and help her deal with it. But she's been through so much already. Her mom and I have been separated for almost a year. We tried to make it work, tried counseling, tried dating again, tried everything. Lily watched all of it. She heard the arguments even when we thought she was asleep. She saw her mother cry. She asked me once if it was her fault we weren't living together anymore. David's voice cracked. She was 6 years old, asking if she was the reason her family was broken. How do you tell a 6-year-old that adults are just complicated and messy, and sometimes love isn't enough? Rachel's expression had shifted. The professional distance was fading, replaced by something softer. You told her it wasn't her fault? Of course I did. About 1,000 times. But I'm not sure she believed me. Kids blame themselves for everything, don't they? Often, yes, Rachel admitted. They think they're the center of the universe, which means they must be responsible for everything that happens in it. So now Jessica's gone, and Lily's going to blame herself for that too. She's going to think her mother left because she wasn't good enough. Because she was too loud or too messy or asked too many questions about space. David rubbed his eyes. I just want to give her one day where she feels completely loved. Where both her parents show up for her, even if one of them is fake. Is that so terrible? Rachel didn't answer right away. She got up and went to order a coffee, and David watched her at the counter, wondering if she was trying to figure out how to let him down easy. But when she came back, she had 2 cookies on a plate along with her coffee. I don't usually eat sugar after 5, she said, pushing one of the cookies toward him. But this conversation requires cookies. David picked up the cookie but didn't eat it. You're going to say no. I'm going to say this is complicated, Rachel corrected. I've spent my entire career helping children process trauma and loss. I know what the research says. I know what the best practices are. But I also know that every child is different and every situation is unique. She took a sip of her coffee. I had a patient once, 8-year-old boy whose father died suddenly in a car accident. His mother was so consumed by her own grief that she couldn't function. So the boy's grandmother told him his father was on a business trip. She thought she was giving the mother time to pull herself together before they had to tell him the truth. What happened? David asked. The grandmother kept the lie going for 3 months. Every time the boy asked when his father was coming home, she made up another excuse. Finally, the mother was stable enough to tell him the truth. And you know what the boy said? David shook his head. He said, I already knew. I heard you crying at night. I saw the pictures you took down. I knew he was dead, but I didn't say anything because I thought it would make you sadder. This 8-year-old spent 3 months carrying that knowledge alone because the adults in his life thought lying was kinder than the truth. David felt sick. So I shouldn't do this. I'm not saying that, Rachel said. What I'm saying is that children are more perceptive than we think. Lily probably already knows something is wrong. She might not know exactly what, but kids pick up on everything. The tension, the sadness, the way you probably avoid talking about her mother. I've been trying to act normal, David protested. I'm sure you have. But you're not an actor, David. You're a father who's barely holding it together, and that's okay. That's human. But it means Lily probably already senses that something is off. David slumped in his chair. So what do I do? Rachel ate a piece of her cookie, clearly thinking. Tell me about the party. What exactly did you plan? David pulled out his phone and showed her the list he'd been keeping. It's at our house. Saturday afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m. 20 kids from her school and the neighborhood. Space Princess theme. I ordered a cake shaped like Saturn. There's going to be face painting and games. I made goodie bags with star stickers and glow-in-the-dark planets. Lily helped me plan every detail. And what role did your ex-wife have in the planning? None, actually. This was all me and Lily. Jessica was supposed to just show up and be there. That was the deal. Rachel nodded slowly. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. And before I say this, I want you to know I'm probably going to regret it, and my mentor would definitely not approve. David leaned forward. I'm listening. I'll come to the party, Rachel said, but not as your ex-wife. I'll come as your girlfriend, David blinked. What? Think about it. If I show up pretending to be Jessica, Lily's going to know something is wrong immediately. Kids know their parents. I don't look like her. I don't sound like her. I don't have her mannerisms or her history with Lily. It would be obvious that something was off, and that would be worse than anything. But if you come as my girlfriend, David said slowly, starting to understand, then you're not lying about anything major. You're just introducing Lily to someone new in your life. It explains why Jessica isn't there without making it about abandonment. You and your ex-wife are separated, you've moved on, and this is the new reality. It's actually closer to the truth than pretending nothing has changed. David's mind was racing. But Lily's expecting her mother. She's been talking about both of us being there for months. Which is why you need to tell her before the party. Rachel said firmly. Not the day of, not the night before. You need to sit her down tomorrow and explain that her mother isn't coming, that you've met someone new, and that person will be at the party instead. Give Lily time to process and adjust. She's going to be heartbroken, David said. Yes, she is. And that's not your fault. That's her mother's choice. But heartbreak heals, David. Betrayal and lies, those are harder to recover from. David was quiet, turning this new plan over in his mind. It was better than his original idea, he had to admit. Less dishonest, more sustainable. But it still felt like he was using Rachel, asking her to play a role in his messy life. Why would you do this? He asked. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Rachel looked down at her coffee cup. I have my reasons. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving you right now, Rachel said. But then she sighed and added, I was engaged once. 5 years ago. We were planning the wedding, had the venue booked, the whole thing. 2 months before the wedding, he told me he couldn't do it. That he loved me, but he wasn't in love with me anymore. Whatever that means. I'm sorry, David said. Don't be. It was the right decision for both of us. But I remember what it felt like to have someone just leave. To wake up one day and have your entire future erased. And I was an adult with coping mechanisms and a support system. I can't imagine what it's like for a 7-year-old. She met his eyes. I can't fix what your ex-wife did, but maybe I can help make it a little less painful. Not by lying, but by showing Lily that people can leave and new people can arrive and life goes on. That's not a lie. That's just reality. David felt tears prick his eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We need to establish ground rules. First, you tell Lily the truth about her mother tomorrow. All of it. Don't sugarcoat it, but don't vilify Jessica either. Just the facts. Okay, David agreed. Second, I come over the day before the party to meet Lily properly. We spend a few hours together so she can get comfortable with me. I'm not going to show up at her birthday party as a complete stranger. That makes sense. Third, the $2,000 you mentioned, I don't want it. But I do want you to put it in a college fund for Lily. She's going to need it someday. David's throat tightened. Rachel, I can't ask you to do this for free. You're not asking. I'm offering. But there is one condition. What is it? Rachel leaned forward, her expression serious. After the party, you have to promise me that you'll get Lily into therapy. A real child psychologist who can help her process all of this. This isn't going to be a one-time crisis, David. This is going to affect her for years. She needs professional support. I'll do it, David said immediately. I'll find someone the day after the party. Good. Rachel pulled out her phone. Give me your number. We'll need to coordinate before Saturday. As David recited his number, he felt like he was in a dream. 12 hours ago, he'd been sitting in a hospital cafeteria, completely alone and out of options. Now he had a plan. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't what he'd originally envisioned, but it was something. One more thing, Rachel said as she stood up to leave. Don't make me regret this, David. Your daughter is counting on you to be honest with her. Don't let her down. I won't, David promised. After Rachel left, David sat in the coffee shop for another hour, finishing his cold coffee and staring at his phone. Tomorrow he'd have to tell Lily the truth. He'd have to watch her little face crumble as she realized her mother wasn't coming back. He'd have to hold her while she cried and answer questions he didn't have answers to. But he wouldn't be doing it alone, and somehow that made all the difference. David pulled up his photos and looked at a picture of Lily from last week. She was wearing her astronaut costume from Halloween, grinning at the camera with 2 missing front teeth. She looked so happy, so innocent, so sure that the world was a good and safe place. Tomorrow that innocence would be shattered a little bit, but David would be there to help her pick up the pieces. And maybe, just maybe, Rachel would too. He sent Rachel a text. Thank you. For everything. I know you didn't have to do any of this. Her response came a few minutes later. See you Friday. And David? It's going to be okay. Not right away, but eventually. Kids are tougher than we think. David wanted to believe that. He had to believe that. Because in less than 48 hours, he was going to find out just how tough his little girl really was. He finished his coffee, threw away his cup, and walked out into the cool evening air. The hospital loomed across the street, all lit up against the darkening sky. In 2 days, he'd be introducing Lily to Rachel. In 3 days, they'd be celebrating a birthday that would be nothing like what any of them had planned. But maybe that was okay. Maybe life wasn't about perfect plans and happy endings. Maybe it was about doing your best with broken pieces and hoping that love was enough to hold everything together. David took a deep breath and headed home. He had a daughter to tuck in, a truth to tell tomorrow, and a birthday party to somehow get through. One step at a time, one day at a time, one breath at a time. It would have to be enough. David had never been so nervous to talk to his own daughter. He'd practiced the conversation in his head 100 times during his shift at the hospital. He'd even written notes on his phone, different ways to phrase things, gentler words to soften the blow. But now, sitting on Lily's bed while she arranged her stuffed animals in a circle, all those carefully planned words disappeared from his mind. "Daddy, you're being weird," Lily said, not looking up from her task. She was organizing her animals by size, which was apparently very important work that required complete concentration. "I need to talk to you about something." "Sweetheart," David said, his voice coming out shaky. "Is it about my party?" Lily looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. "Did the cake come?" "Can I see it?" "No, the cake comes tomorrow. This is about something else." David patted the bed next to him. "Come sit with me for a minute." Lily climbed onto the bed, tucking herself under his arm the way she always did. She smelled like the strawberry shampoo she insisted on using, and the grape popsicle she'd had after dinner. 7 years old and already so independent, so sure of herself. David's heart was breaking before he even started talking. "Remember how I told you that Mommy was on a business trip?" David began. "Uh-huh. She's coming back for my party though, right? You promised both of you would be there." Lily's voice was hopeful, trusting. David felt like he was about to push his daughter off a cliff. "Honey, I need to tell you the truth. Mommy's not on a business trip. She left. She decided she needed to go away for a while, and I don't know when she's coming back." Lily went very still. "What do you mean?" "I mean she's not coming to your party." "I'm so sorry, baby. I know how much you wanted her there." "But she promised," Lily said, her voice getting smaller. "She promised last time I saw her. She said she wouldn't miss it. I know she did. And I'm sure she meant it when she said it. But sometimes grown-ups make promises they can't keep." Lily pulled away from him, her face scrunching up in that way that meant tears were coming. "Did I do something wrong? Is she mad at me?" "No," David said firmly, pulling her back close. "No, baby, this has nothing to do with you. Nothing at all. This is about Mommy and the choices she made. You didn't do anything wrong." "Then why did she leave?" Lily's voice cracked and the first tears started falling. "Why doesn't she want to be with us anymore?" This was the question David had been dreading because he didn't have a good answer. How do you explain to a child that sometimes people just give up? That sometimes love isn't enough and trying is too hard and running away seems easier than staying? Sometimes people get overwhelmed, David tried. Sometimes they feel like they can't breathe and they need space to figure things out. It's not about not loving you. Your mommy loves you very much. She's just lost right now. Can we find her? Lily asked hopefully. Can we go look for her and bring her home? It's not that kind of loss, sweetheart. She needs to find her own way back. And we have to let her do that. Lily was crying harder now, her small body shaking against his chest. David held her tight, his own tears falling into her hair. This was worse than he'd imagined. Worse than anything he'd prepared for. His daughter's pain was his pain, magnified 1,000 times. I want my mommy, Lily sobbed. I want her to come to my party. I know you do. I know. David rocked her gently, the way he had when she was a baby, and the only thing that calmed her was movement and his heartbeat. I'm so sorry, Lily, I'm so sorry. They sat like that for a long time, Lily crying and David holding her, until her sobs finally quieted into hiccups and sniffles. David grabbed a tissue from her nightstand and helped her blow her nose. I don't want to party anymore, Lily said quietly. Not if Mommy's not there. Don't say that. You've been planning this party for months. All your friends are excited to come. We've got the Space Princess decorations and the Saturn cake and all those glow-in-the-dark planets for the goodie bags. I don't care about any of that, Lily said, and she sounded so defeated, so much older than 7. I just wanted both of you there. David took a deep breath. This was the second hard part. Actually, there's something else I need to tell you. Someone else who will be at your party. Lily looked up at him confused. Who? Her name is Rachel. She's someone I met recently. Someone who's become important to me. And I'd like you to meet her. Like a girlfriend? Lily asked. And there was something sharp in her voice that David had never heard before. Kinda like that, yes. You have a girlfriend and mommy just left? Lily's tears were back, but this time there was anger mixed with the sadness. How could you? How could you already have someone new? Lily, listen to me. Your mom and I have been separated for almost a year. We tried to work things out, but it wasn't happening. Rachel didn't cause any of this. She's just someone who wants to help. I don't want to meet her, Lily said stubbornly. I don't want a new person. I want my real mom. I know you do, baby. But Rachel is going to come over tomorrow just for a little while, so you two can meet before the party. You don't have to like her right away. You don't have to call her anything special. Just meet her. That's all I'm asking. Lily turned away from him, curling up on her side. Can you leave now? I want to be alone. Lily, please, Daddy. I just want to be by myself. David's instinct was to stay, to keep holding her until she felt better. But he also knew his daughter, and when she needed space, pushing only made things worse. Okay, he said softly, but I'm right down the hall if you need me. And Lily, I love you more than anything in this world. That's never going to change. Lily didn't respond. David kissed the top of her head and left the room, closing the door quietly behind him. Out in the hallway, he leaned against the wall and let himself cry. This was exactly what he'd been trying to avoid. His daughter was in pain, and there was nothing he could do to fix it. No words that would make it better. No actions that would undo Jessica's choice to leave. His phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. How did it go? David didn't know how to answer that. He walked downstairs to the kitchen and called her instead. That bad? Rachel asked when she picked up. Worse, David said. She's heartbroken and angry, and she doesn't want to meet you tomorrow. That's a completely normal reaction, Rachel said calmly. She's processing a huge loss. Of course she doesn't want to meet someone new right now. Maybe we should cancel. Maybe this whole thing was a mistake. David, take a breath. This was always going to be hard. You knew that. The question is, do you give up now or do you keep moving forward? I don't want to make things worse for her. You won't. But you do need to give her time tonight. Let her feel what she's feeling. Don't try to fix it or make it better. Just let her be sad and angry. That's healthy, David rubbed his eyes. When did you become so wise? 4 years of graduate school and 7 years of clinical practice, Rachel said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. I'm still coming over tomorrow. Lily doesn't have to talk to me if she doesn't want to. She doesn't even have to come out of her room. But I'm going to be there, and she's going to see that I'm not some scary monster trying to replace her mother. What if she hates you? Then she hates me. That's okay too. This isn't about me, David. This is about showing Lily that life continues even when it feels like everything is falling apart, that new people can come into our lives even when we're not ready for them. After they hung up, David made himself a cup of tea he didn't really want and sat at the kitchen table. The house felt too quiet. Usually at this time of night he could hear Lily singing to herself or talking to her stuffed animals. But tonight there was only silence. Around 9 o'clock he went back upstairs to check on her. She was asleep finally, her face still tear-stained and blotchy. David pulled her blanket up and kissed her forehead. She didn't stir. The next day was Friday, the day before the party. David had taken the day off work to finish preparations and to be there when Rachel came over. Lily was quiet at breakfast, pushing her cereal around the bowl without eating much. Rachel's coming at 2 o'clock, David said gently. You don't have to do anything special. Just say hi, that's all. Lily shrugged and didn't look at him. The hours crawled by. David tried to keep busy, blowing up balloons and hanging decorations, but he kept checking the clock. At 1:30, Lily disappeared into her room and wouldn't come out. When the doorbell rang at exactly 2 o'clock, David's palms were sweating. He opened the door to find Rachel standing there with a small bag in her hands. Hi, she said. Hi. Come in. Rachel stepped inside and looked around. It was the first time she'd been to his house, and David suddenly saw it through her eyes. The worn furniture, the marks on the walls from where Lily had tested out her markers at age 3, the general chaos of a single-parent's home. Nice place, Rachel said, and she seemed to mean it. Where's Lily? In her room. She's been up there all day, Rachel nodded. Can I go up? Or would you rather bring her down? You can go up. First door on the right. David watched Rachel climb the stairs, then forced himself to stay in the kitchen. This was between Rachel and Lily. He couldn't interfere. Upstairs, Rachel knocked softly on Lily's door. "Lily, my name is Rachel. Your dad said I could come say hi." No response. "I brought something for you. I'm going to leave it out here by your door, okay? You can look at it whenever you want. Or not. That's okay too." Rachel set the bag down and started to walk away, but then the door cracked open. A small face peeked out. "What is it?" Lily asked suspiciously. Rachel smiled. "Why don't you look and see?" Lily grabbed the bag and pulled out its contents. It was a book, but not just any book. It was a guide to constellations with beautiful photographs and simple descriptions written for kids. "Your dad told me you like space," Rachel said. "I thought you might like this." Lily stared at the book, running her fingers over the cover. "It's cool," she admitted quietly. "Can I tell you something?" Rachel asked, sitting down on the floor in the hallway, her back against the wall. "I'm really nervous right now." Lily looked surprised. "You are?" "Super nervous. I'm meeting someone really important to your dad, and I want you to like me, but I know that's probably not going to happen right away. And that's okay. I just want you to know that I'm not trying to be your mom. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm just someone who cares about your dad and wants to be a friend to you if you'll let me." Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened her door a little wider. "Do you really know about space?" "A little bit. I'm not an expert like you probably are, but I think it's pretty cool." "Do you know about Saturn?" "I know it has rings." "It has 7 main rings," Lily said, and there was a hint of her usual enthusiasm creeping into her voice. "And like 82 moons. That's more than any other planet." "Wow. That's a lot of moons." Lily stepped fully into the hallway, still clutching her book. "My birthday cake is shaped like Saturn. Want to see it?" Rachel smiled. "I'd love to." Downstairs, David heard footsteps on the stairs, and then Lily appeared with Rachel behind her. His daughter still looked sad, still looked wounded, but there was something else there too. A tiny spark of curiosity. "Daddy, can we show Rachel the cake?" Lily asked. David felt tears prick his eyes. "Of course we can, sweetheart." They spent the next hour in the kitchen, the 3 of them, looking at the cake and talking about space and planets. Lily slowly warmed up, asking Rachel questions and sharing facts she'd learned from her books and documentaries. Rachel listened attentively, asked good questions, and never once talked down to Lily or tried too hard. She was just present, real, honest. When it was time for Rachel to leave, Lily hugged her book to her chest. "Thank you for this," she said shyly. "You're welcome," Rachel replied. "I'll see you tomorrow at your party, okay?" Lily nodded. After Rachel left, she looked up at David. "She's nice." "Yeah," David agreed. "She really is. I still miss Mommy, though. I know, baby." "That's okay. You can miss Mommy and still like Rachel. Both things can be true." That night, Lily read her new book cover to cover before bed, and for the first time since David had told her the truth, she fell asleep without crying. Tomorrow was the party. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges and emotions. But tonight, David felt like maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. Not right away. Not completely. But eventually, they would find their way through this together. Saturday morning arrived with sunshine that felt almost unfair. David had barely slept, kept awake by worries about everything that could go wrong. What if Lily had a breakdown at the party? What if the other parents asked too many questions about Jessica? What if the kids noticed something was off and said cruel things the way kids sometimes do? He got up at 6 and started preparing, even though the party wasn't until 2. The house needed to be perfect. Everything needed to be perfect. If he couldn't give Lily her mother, he could at least give her the best birthday party possible. Lily wandered downstairs around 8, still in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. She looked tired too. David wondered if she'd slept any better than he had. "Morning, birthday girl," David said, forcing cheerfulness into his voice. 7 years old today. "How does it feel?" Lily shrugged and climbed onto a kitchen chair. "Feels the same as yesterday." David's heart sank a little, but he kept smiling. "Well, you're officially old enough to help me hang the rest of these decorations. What do you say?" For a moment, he thought she'd refuse. But then Lily looked at the pile of silver and purple streamers on the table, and something shifted in her expression. "Can we make the living room look like outer space?" she asked quietly. "We can make it look however you want. It's your day." They spent the next few hours transforming the house. David hung planets from the ceiling while Lily directed him. "That one's too low, Daddy. Saturn needs to be higher than Mars." She was focused now, her natural excitement for the party breaking through the sadness. Around noon, Rachel texted, "On my way. Need me to bring anything?" David looked around at the chaos of last-minute preparations. Just yourself. And maybe patience. Lots of patience. When Rachel arrived at 1 o'clock, she was carrying another bag. Lily opened the door before David could get there. "Hi, Rachel," Lily said. She wasn't exactly warm, but she wasn't hostile either. "Progress. Happy birthday, Lily." Rachel held out the bag. "I know you're going to get a lot of presents today, but I wanted to give you this one now before everyone else gets here." Lily took the bag and peeked inside. Her eyes went wide. "Is this a real telescope?" "A beginner's telescope, yes. I thought maybe you and your dad could use it to look at stars together. That book I gave you yesterday has a star map in the back." Lily pulled out the telescope carefully like it was made of glass. "This is the best present ever," she breathed. Then, without warning, she hugged Rachel quickly before running off to show David. Rachel met David's eyes over Lily's head as she ran past, and he mouthed, "Thank you." Rachel just smiled. By 2 o'clock, the house was full of children. 27-year-olds running around in princess costumes and space helmets made for beautiful chaos. David had hired a teenager from down the street to help with face painting, and there was a line of kids waiting to get planets and stars painted on their cheeks. Rachel had positioned herself as helpful but not intrusive. She refilled juice boxes, picked up dropped cookies, and helped kids find the bathroom. She didn't try to act like a parent or take over. She was just there, present and useful. Several parents had stayed for the party, and David could feel their curious glances. A few of them had known Jessica. They had to be wondering who this new woman was. "David, hi." It was Melissa, the mother of Lily's best friend, Sophie. "What a wonderful party. And where's Jessica? I thought she was coming. Here it was." The question David had been dreading. He felt his face get hot. But before he could answer, Rachel appeared at his elbow. "Jessica couldn't make it," Rachel said smoothly. "But Lily's having a great time anyway. Did you see the cake? David found this amazing bakery that made it look just like Saturn." Melissa looked between them, clearly trying to figure out who Rachel was and what her relationship to David meant. "Oh, that's too bad. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," David managed. "Just couldn't work out with the scheduling." It was a lie, but it was kinder than the truth. Melissa nodded, though David could tell she didn't quite believe him. She'd probably be gossiping with the other parents within 5 minutes, but right now he didn't care. He just wanted to get through this day. The party games were a hit. They played Pin the Rocket on the Moon and had a scavenger hunt for hidden plastic stars. Lily laughed and ran around with her friends, and for long stretches of time, she looked genuinely happy. But David noticed the moments too when she'd go quiet, scanning the room like she was looking for someone who wasn't there. During the cake ceremony, all the kids gathered around the big table where the Saturn cake sat in all its glory. The rings were made of different colored frosting, and there were little star candles instead of regular ones. David had spent way too much money on this cake, but seeing Lily's face light up when she saw it made every penny worth it. "Make a wish, birthday girl," someone shouted. Lily closed her eyes tight. David wondered what she was wishing for. Probably for her mother to come back. His heart ached watching her, knowing that particular wish wouldn't come true. She blew out all 7 candles in one breath, and everyone cheered. As David cut the cake, Rachel helped distribute plates to the eager kids. They worked together naturally, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. "Your girlfriend is really nice," Sophie whispered to Lily, loud enough for half the room to hear. Lily's face flushed. "She's not," she started, then stopped. She looked over at Rachel, who was laughing at something one of the kids had said. "Yeah, she's nice." David felt something loosen in his chest. It wasn't acceptance exactly, but it wasn't rejection either. It was a beginning. The present opening took forever, as it always does with 20 kids. Lily got books and toys and art supplies. She was polite and said thank you after each one. But David could tell she was getting tired. The emotional weight of the day was catching up with her. Finally, the last of the guests left. The house looked like a tornado had hit it, with wrapping paper and empty juice boxes everywhere. Lily collapsed on the couch, still wearing her space princess crown. "That was a good party," she said quietly. "Yeah." David sat down next to her. "You had fun, mostly?" "I just kept thinking Mommy was going to show up. Like maybe she'd surprise me and walk through the door." David pulled her close. I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Rachel had been cleaning up in the kitchen, but she came and sat on the coffee table in front of them. Lily, can I tell you something? Lily nodded. When I was 8, my dad left. Just walked out one day and didn't come back for 5 years. And I spent a long time thinking it was my fault. That if I'd been better or smarter or quieter, he would have stayed. Lily's eyes were wide. What happened after 5 years? He came back and apologized. Said he'd been dealing with problems I was too young to understand. We have a relationship now, but it's different than it was, and that's okay. The point is, what your mom did has nothing to do with who you are as a person. You're smart and funny and creative, and anyone would be lucky to be your mom. She just has her own stuff going on. Do you think my mom will come back in 5 years? Lily asked. I don't know, Rachel said honestly. Maybe she will, maybe she won't, but either way, you're going to be okay. You know why? Why? Because you have a dad who loves you so much that he threw you the most amazing space princess party I've ever seen. And because you're strong and brave and you're going to grow up to be an incredible person, with or without your mom. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Can you stay for dinner? We always have pizza on my birthday. Rachel looked at David, who nodded. I'd love to stay for pizza. They ordered from Lily's favorite place, the one that made heart-shaped pizzas. While they waited for delivery, Rachel helped Lily set up her new telescope by the window. They couldn't see much in the daylight, but Rachel showed her how to adjust the focus and explained what they'd be able to see once it got dark. David watched them from the kitchen, this woman and his daughter, their heads bent together over the telescope manual. It felt surreal. 3 days ago, Rachel had been a complete stranger. Now she was sitting in his living room, teaching his daughter about telescopes, fitting into their lives like she'd always been there. After pizza, Lily insisted they try out the telescope even though the sun was just setting. Rachel and David took turns lifting her up so she could look through the eyepiece. I see the moon, Lily squealed. I can see the craters and everything. That's amazing, sweetie, David said. They stayed outside until the stars started coming out. Rachel pointed out different constellations, telling Lily the stories behind their names. Lily listened, fascinated, occasionally running inside to check her new book to verify the information. Around 8:30, Lily started yawning. David knew she was exhausted running on fumes and birthday cake sugar. Time for bed, birthday girl, he said. Surprisingly, Lily didn't argue. She hugged Rachel goodnight, a real hug this time, not the quick one from earlier. Thank you for coming to my party, Lily said. And for the telescope. It's really cool. You're welcome. I had a great time. After David tucked Lily in and read her a chapter from her favorite book, he came back downstairs to find Rachel cleaning up the kitchen. You don't have to do that, he said. I know, but I want to help. Rachel threw away a pile of paper plates. She did really well today, thanks to you. That story about your dad, was that true?